out of the ordinary insights. Brought to you by Investec Specialist Bank.
Welcome back to Captains of Industry. With me is the CEO of Brimstone, JSE listed Brimstone. That's Mustaq Brey. Let's get on to investments now. That's why you're in business. And you mentioned back in 1994 Oceana. Of course, you're still a shareholder in that company.
It's been one of the great successes for us. We started off, the first lot of shares we bought in Oceana was bought at R2.62. Yeah. The dividend last year was just over R3 per share. So you can imagine the actual return. It's been a good company, good to us. During the period of time as well, we did sell off some of the shares when Brimstone needed some money in the early 2000s. But we've since gone back and we now own about 16% of Oceana. And at last night's price, in actual fact, our investment in Oceana was bigger than our investment in Life Healthcare at just over R1.8 billion, each of them. So it's become a pillar of strength for us, and it's been one of our foundations.
Give us a pie chart of your investments in terms of value, if you would.
On value, our food side is about 44% at the moment. Then we've got healthcare at about 35%. Then we've got financial services at about 15%, and the balance, I think, of 9 or 10, it's just other investments, including House of Manatic, Reform, A&O, some of those investments.
So around about 75%, something like that, 75% plus, is in what I would consider to be defensive investments.
Absolutely, yeah. We know people will always be eating, whether they can afford it or not. They always like to eat, and we're in there. And then Life Healthcare, it's a private hospital business, which is a great business, listed a few years ago, and it's done exceptionally well for us.
Is that going to be your continuing philosophy, especially during these times where the world is not exactly shooting the lights out when it comes to growth? We've had some figures out recently showing that manufacturing is at best sort of breaking even, so you'll be defensive in the future.
Well, we're going to try and do that. For a stable table, you need 4 legs. We got 2 at the moment. We're working on the third one, financial services. We're trying to get there a bit more. And then hopefully over the period, we'll go a bit light on some of the others and develop a 4th leg as well. I think Brimstone would be nice and stable.
Yeah, exactly. The third leg, financial services, you've got Nedbank, you've got Old Mutual.
We've got Line of Africa. Yeah, we've got Line of Africa, the short-term insurance company as well. So we've got a few nice, chips in the game that we can develop into bigger blocks.
How do you choose an investment? Do people come to you and say, Mustaq, Fred, this is what we've got, what do you think of it? Or do you go out there scouting?
There's a bit of both. And quite often, in actual fact, at the moment, Lindsay, we find that when people do come to talk to us, we then refer them to companies which we've invested in already. And we say, let's make those stronger, let's make those companies stronger. Let's bolt on to those. That's what we're trying to do.
And do you look at companies that have got an expansion plan for the rest of Africa? I'm looking down here and I see Tiger Brands. Tiger Brands, of course, excuse me, recently gone into Nigeria.
Yeah.
Is that also one of the criteria when evaluating an investment?
We try and encourage that at the moment. Line of Africa is doing business in Africa at the moment as well. It's selling insurance into Africa. Oceana is big up on the west coast, selling horse mackerel into Angola and some of the other West African countries. So we're supporting those companies as well. Well, as you've seen now, Life Healthcare has just gone into India about a year ago.
The 4th leg of the table, you're already almost stable table, but still a little bit wonky. What's it going to be?
Let's see what the market brings to us. At the moment, the problem we've got is we've been shown a lot of transactions. But as you've seen with the market, the prices are just very, very high at the moment. And we're patient. We've got a very unleveraged balance sheet at the moment. We've got plenty of committed money to us. We can go and write big checks out in a very quick time for the right transaction at the right price. And that's the big issue we're working with at the moment. And we don't want to just overpay anybody for an asset.
And if the right transaction doesn't come along, return money to shareholders.
Return money to the shareholders, absolutely. We've done it before. We were one of the first companies in 1999, don't forget that. When the market went south in 1998, we won the threat. We were trading at the rand a share, our NAV was R2.51. What did we do? We sold off shares and returned R1.50 to our shareholders. So our initial shareholders in actual fact came in at R1.25. They had all their money back a long time ago, and they've still got their shares. So it's that's the principles we work on.
What about mining? There's no mining in your portfolio.
No, it's a bit of a sore point for me. We did have a quick fling into mining It cost us a quick 48 million rand, which I've written off since then. It's a gold mine out in Eastern Mpumalanga area. It cost us 48 million rand. We still got the shares, but it's got not the value is gone. And at the end of December last year, I impaired it completely.
Do your shareholders sometimes say to you, you're too conservative, Mustaq, come on, let's get into the mining sector now. The platinum stocks are at historic lows, on historically low valuations, so let's take a punt. And if they do, what do you say to them?
I want to see the numbers. I'm a numbers person, right? I'm a conservative accountant. And that's part of the problem. That we haven't been very aggressive over the number of years. But it's worked well for us. So I keep on telling them, look, if the recipe is working, why do you want to change it? We're specifically not into gambling, so why must I go gamble?
Quite right. Do you have political affiliations at Brimstone?
On a personal basis, we do have, but not at a company basis, yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that helps you get the doors opened without being sort of overtly trying to do so?
We don't try and do that at all, in actual fact. We were led by a very great South African, Jake Scherwel, for a number of years. Our chairman passed away last year in November. Yes. He was a great leader. And look, he told us you just don't do that type of thing, you're with me. We don't want government contracts and that type of thing. A company must earn it on merit, If that's the way they get the contract, that's it. But there should be no other pressure applied anywhere to do those transactions. You
expressed some sadness about the development of South Africa since 1994, Mustaq, earlier on. Are you concerned that what is happening now in South Africa and the way that we're being punished by the international community can actually continue and become something a little bit more serious than it already is?
Well, it can, because I think we're losing the race. We should have been the leaders in Africa. Today, China and India has overtaken us in Africa by far. And we've lost big opportunities, And it's quite sad that we've lost that. If you can talk to other business people in North Africa or in East Africa or West Africa, when you tell them you're South African, they look at you, what are you doing here? You're not very welcome. It becomes more difficult to do business there.
I was speaking to a chap from Australia the other day. He's an iron ore miner and he was in South Africa for a conference. And I said, well, that means you're obviously looking to do business here. He says, no, I can't do business in South Africa. It's too risky. I'm doing business in the Congo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. We've got a small little company which we are assisted with on Enterprise Development Fund. They're now selling mining equipment up into all parts of Africa. But they're battling in South Africa.
What about education? Because the long-term future of this country is going to be based on the service delivery, but also I think, healthcare and education. Is that something you would look at? Because I see a company just down the road in the northern suburbs that is doing incredibly well. Is that something that you've looked at?
Well, we haven't looked at that at all. But I think education is very, very important. And I think it's another challenge which we could put out to captains of industry as well. As we're getting older and we're getting grey and that type of thing, right? I think part of our job should be to mentor youngsters. I think we can do that on more and more, right? Just giving them time, giving them of our time, right? Trying to help them along, and that's what we're trying to do at Brimstone. Quite often I get asked the question, what about the future of Brimstone? It's been Fred, Laurie, and yourself. What about after you guys leave? We've now got a team coming through. There's 8 youngsters coming through in that team. We've got chartered accountants, we've got attorneys, we've got actuaries. They're all there, and part of our job is to mentor them. We've gone back to our shareholders and put a specific scheme in there for them, a retention scheme, and for them to develop their own capital, which runs through from 2016 to 2018. So I've got them locked in as well. But that's part of our job, and we should do more and more of that throughout South Africa.
Yeah, we'll come to your succession plan just right at the end, but let's talk more about the investment philosophy now. Is there value out there? When you get given 10 deals, are any of those deals, or at the moment, what sort of percentage of those deals actually interest you?
Probably as low as 20%. That's, because we get shown a lot of deals who are about to fall over as well. One of the sadnesses of South Africa has been that a lot of the BE transactions never really got value for its beneficiaries because they weren't commercially sound from the start. Bankers in actual fact made money by putting these things together, and when people needed funding, they said, look, let's try and get a BE partner, we can get the bank to fund us, take that money, the BE partner will be responsible, and we'll use that as capital, which is wrong. If it's not bankable, you can't do the transaction. So you've got to look for those actual values. And part of the philosophy we've got at Brimstone is we look at brands. We say we want to be with the best of brands. We with Nedbank, we with Old Mutual, we with Tiger Brands, with Life Healthcare, Oceana. Within those sectors, they are leaders. And we like to be with those type of people. We like to go with people who've got good governance in place.
So you need brands, you need balance sheet, you need BEE.
And governance, good governance, so that you don't have to worry when you're dealing with those people that they're going to be trying and doing something which is illegal or unethical.
You spoke about getting older and greyer. We're all getting older and greyer, Mustaq, and at some stage you're going to hang up your CEO hat and pass it on to somebody else. And you've spoken a bit about succession. It's incredibly important, and some people will have a look at a CEO like, for example, Koos Becker and say, well, once he goes, I'm not going to have anything to do with Naspers. Not the case at Brimstone.
No, absolutely not. I think we've got a great team coming through here. We're working very, very hard with them, and we're trying to instill our culture in them as well. The culture of being responsible to all your stakeholders. We've got, at Brimstone, we say we've got to be profitable, empowering, and we've got to help all our stakeholders, not just one sector of the stakeholders. And a stakeholder could be a worker of mine at House of Monatic, And in that way, we've tried to help them as well. Take, for instance, Life Healthcare. Part of what Brimstone has done over the last 2 or 3 years, we're now funding nurses training. We said, look, put in extra 10 people, we'll pay for it. And in that way, we can assist the development of people as well in this country.
When I look at the fund management industry, there is a certain point where a fund manager starts to become almost too big, because if they become too big, they can't then go into a certain share because it has to have a certain market capitalization. At what point does Brimstone say, right, we're big enough now, we're just going to carry on with what we're doing, we're not going to expand anymore? What is your goal, in other words?
Look, at the moment, our market cap is just over 4 billion rand. It could have been 8.5 billion rand if we did not unbundle, or 8 billion rand if we didn't unbundle part of our shares to we unbundled 112 million Life Healthcare shares to our shareholders just under 3 years ago. The value of that today is more than 4 billion rand. So if we had kept that together with what we've got now, it would have been more than 8 billion rand. We're very happy with where we are at the moment. I'd love to see in the next 3 to 5 years that we take that up to 10 billion rand. That's what the target is.
But you won't be able to stay under the radar if you get too big, and therefore Brimstone loses its character, if you like.
It doesn't have to lose its character. As long as we can instill within the people running Brimstone the way we run Brimstone, and being responsible investors in South Africa and being responsible corporate citizens, I'll be very happy when I'm on pension.